In an urban society, everything connects. Each person's needs are fed by the skills of many others. Our lives are woven together in a fabric. But the connections that make society strong also make it vulnerable.
Peaceful up here, isn't it? Oh, I'd love to live out in the country, wouldn't you, Jimmy?
What the heck?
Why not?
It's dead. Not to do. Just imagine living down there. Take you an hour to get to the nearest boozer.
Oh, I know. But the air's lovely. You know, I love it this time of year. The spring coming on. You know, you see the leaves just coming out on that bush over there? What are you looking at?
Trying to make out where our house is. Wish I had a pair of binoculars. See floodlights at United Ground, look.
March 20 with the news, John
Oh, what time is it?
There's been further fighting in Iran
Oh,
between
half-time scores will
government
go in a minute.
says the civil war there.
Oh, honestly. Come out here for a drive. We're surrounded by all this countryside and all you can think about is football.
That's not all I can think about.
Oh, stop it. Honestly, you've got no consideration at all sometimes. You think you can do what you like. Where are you going?
Manchester United 0. West Ham United 2. Queen's Park Rangers 0. Division 2. Barnsley 1. Derby 0.
There you are. It's peace offering. Not much smell to it though.
It's lovely.
Huddersfield 0.
Yeah, they're supposed to bring good luck in it.
Middlesbrough 2. Oldham
That's what they say.
Newcastle 0.
Wonder if it'll bring me in.
Portsmouth 0. Brighton and Hove Albion 1. Division 3. AFC Bournemouth 2. Wimbledon 2. Brentford 0. Bristol Rovers 2. Burnley 1. Bolton Wanderers 1. Gillingham 1. Orient 0.
This film, shot secretly by a West German television crew on Tuesday, shows one of the Soviet convoys on the move in northern Iran. The convoys were first spotted by United States satellites on Monday, moving across 3 of the mountain passes leading from the Soviet Union. The Soviet foreign minister has defended the incursions and has accused the United States of deliberately prompting last week's coup in Iran. Speaking on his arrival in Vienna, Mr. Gromyko claims these Soviet vehicles were responding to appeals from the legitimate government.
Are you being serious?
Of course I'm being serious. I've never been more
He went on
serious
to
in my
describe
life.
American covert activities in Iran in the period immediately preceding the coup as
Jimmy?
destabilizing.
Are
He
you
warned the
sure?
United States of the dangers of seeking
Definitely.
what he called an easy return.
I'm normally
to
as
the days
regular
of
as
Shah.
clockwork. Anyway, what if I am? It's not the end of the world, is it?
And now a look at programmes later this evening on BBC One.
And don't forget number 24 today.
What?
I said don't forget number 24 today. You're going to run your ear in with them things on all the time, you know.
Honestly, Jimmy, You want a bloody hell seen to.
I think he wants something else seen to as well.
Don't blame me, it's not my fault.
What did it then, you daft bugger?
Don't go blaming it all on Ruth, Jimmy. That's not fair.
It's irrelevant who's to blame now. No. Point is, what are you going to do about it?
We're going to get married.
What for?
Because we want to, what do you think?
You don't have to, you know, Jimmy. I won't want you thinking we were pushing you into it.
Nobody's pushing us into out. It's what we want, we've decided.
I suppose you've talked about an abortion.
Of course we have. But neither of us want that. When I get married and have a baby.
Mum, what's that mean? Abortion?
Michael!
Never mind what it means. You get on with your game. It's nothing to do with you.
I'm thinking of getting engaged anyway. So it don't make much difference, really. It's just brought it forward a bit, that's all.
You know what you're doing, Jimmy. It's a hell of a time to be starting a family in the middle of a recession.
What are you doing with that? I'm not hurting it. Ah, Jimmy's getting married. Are you?
I might be, why?
Well, it's a bit sudden, isn't it? You're not even engaged.
How do you know? Anyway, it's not to do you, so keep your nose out.
Are you getting married in a church or in a registry office? Alison, what's an abortion?
Michael, I've told you once.
Oh, so that's it.
I'll give you a good hiding, lad, if you don't learn to keep your mouth shut.
What for? I haven't done anything yet.
Are you going to shut up about it?
I hope you two are both satisfied now.
What are you blaming me for? I haven't done anything wrong. Come on.
The time now 7:30. Douglas Barton with tonight's headlines. The United States has hinted it may send troops to the Middle East if the Russians don't move their forces out of Iran. The Prime Minister has joined the chorus of Western leaders calling for immediate withdrawal and has spoken of a serious threat to world peace. 4 people were killed today on the M6 motorway in Staffordshire when their car was in collision with a heavy tanker. The accident happened at the junction with...
Do you think we'll get on all right? No, I can't see why not. They're ever so nice.
Just wish we were meeting in different circumstances, that's all.
Making it sound like a funeral.
It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Ought to have been a happy occasion.
It is a happy occasion. Well, I'm happy anyway.
I must say, it's brought out a very determined streak in you, as this.
There's been a serious incident involving a United States warship in the waters off the coast of Iran. No further details are given in the story, attributed to the paper's defense correspondent. However, one rumor being heard increasingly in the capital this morning says the vessel is a US submarine that has disappeared whilst on routine patrol in the area.
Didn't you hear what I said, Gordon? Mr. Mrs. Kemper here.
Many people by seeming to confirm that something very serious has happened. A Pentagon spokesman has refused to be drawn one way or the other on the crisis, parrying all reporters' questions at his regular voice.
Oh, do come in.
Mum, Mrs. Kemp. Mr. Kemp.
Mr. Lee, how do you do?
How do you do?
Dad, Mr. and Mrs. Kemp.
Oh, hello again. How do you do? Mrs. Kemp.
Do go through.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
BBC News at 8 o'clock. The Soviet Union has protested strongly to the United States about what it calls dangerous provocations by American warships in the Gulf of Oman yesterday. This follows an incident in which serious damage was caused to the Soviet cruiser Kirov when she was in collision with the US destroyer Callahan.
It's in a bit of a state, but it's got possibilities.
I'll have that door stripped down, all this paper off and the walls white.
There's about 16 layers on here.
Ah, my mother and dad will help us, I'm sure they will.
My dad will give us hand as well. Be glad of something to do.
What are you laughing at?
Just thinking of his face when my mother said we could borrow his redundancy money.
Oh, don't.
We'd go fancying a trip to Bermuda on it. Looks like we're in Blackpool again.
Oh, dear. I like the gardens. I think it's lovely for children to have somewhere to play.
I wonder if they'll let me build an aviary down there.
Oh, you and your birds.
Makes you feel funny, though, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
Out of owning home, being married, having children. You have to put years on you, don't it?
Don't be silly. It'll be lovely. I just know it will.
Yeah, love.
American and Israeli search and rescue vessels in the area today came across debris and oil slicks that could only have come from the missing submarine. It's still being said in Washington that the Los Angeles was on a routine reconnaissance mission off the coast of Iran when she sank last Tuesday with the loss of all hands. After paying tribute to her 127 officers and men, the president went on to say that he held the Soviet Union solely responsible for their deaths and for the vessel's disappearance.
The unprovoked attack on our submarine and the move into Iran are the actions of a reckless and warlike power. I have to warn the Soviets in the clearest possible terms that they risk taking us to the brink of an armed confrontation with incalculable consequences for all mankind.
Britain has emergency plans for war. If central government should ever fail, power can be transferred instead to a system of local officials dispersed across the country. In an urban district like Sheffield, there is already a designated wartime controller. He's the city's peacetime chief executive. If it should suddenly become necessary, he can be given full powers of internal government. When or if this happens depends on the crisis itself.
The United States government has been forced, reluctantly, to take action to safeguard what it believes are legitimate Western interests in the Middle East. This administration has therefore resolved to send units of its Rapid Deployment Force, the U.S. Central Command, into Western Iran. We are confident that the Soviet Union will take note of our resolve and will desist from its present perilous course of action.
Thank you very much, sir.
It's the time. So if you want to tighten up the timer, here's a very simple but very good exercise. And the only piece of equipment you want is a chair with legs. Right. Now, I'll just let you listen to the lovely silhouette piece. When you get that chair home.
Mary, want you to contact the following people and have them in my office in 10 minutes' time. I don't care what they're doing, they're to drop in and get here right away. Is that clear? Right. You got a pencil? Okay. Alan Bolton, George Cox, Roger Fisher, Susan Russell, ES Administration, Tony Barnes, Roy Chamberlain.
It's busy for a Wednesday, isn't it? I think it was Christmas.
The best of the weather again tomorrow. It looks as if Northern Ireland...
And what about the food situation? What have we got?
In between these areas,
And what about fire?
cloudier weather. This cloud could give some eastern areas
What else is there?
a cloudier time on Sunday.
Corned beef?
Detailed picture now.
It's not from Argentina.
South and East Wales.
Okay, what about supplies to the first aid post?
In England, a fine evening and a
Is that
dry
all?
night with perhaps
Well, that's not going to get us very far, is it? What? Well, I'm sure I don't know, if I'm honest. We've heard nothing about emergency powers as yet. Anyway, don't make a song and dance about it. Just get on with it. Don't tell anybody you don't have to, eh? Okay.
Of the United States 10th Airborne Division, which parachuted into western Iran yesterday, have taken up defensive positions near Isfahan, designed, according to the spokesman, to block any possible move towards the oil fields in the Persian Gulf. Squadrons of American B-52 bombers have been arriving at US bases in Turkey since late on Tuesday evening, together with 3 AWACS early warning aircraft. It's believed that they'll be used in a supporting role to the Middle East Task Force.
All right, John.
The 84th Airborne Division has also been placed on the state of combat readiness and is said to be able to...
Come to give me a hand, then.
No chance. Done enough for one day. I'm knackered.
Not too knackered to be going out, though, I see.
It's different, isn't it? Anyway, I need a break and be down at house every night this week.
How's it coming on?
Not too bad. Just trying to get living room and bedroom finished before we move in. Mother says will you take some flowers down when you're finished?
Third since tea time.
Aye. Where are they going to?
Fittingly, I suppose.
Why don't you pop down to W.H. Smith's and buy yourself an aircraft spotter's book? You start on your bit, make a change from gardening.
You can laugh, but there's something going on, I'm telling you.
There's something going on tonight when I've had a few pints.
Don't be going mad. You haven't only got yourself to think about now, you know.
Why not? Might as well enjoy myself while I'm single. Not long to go now, you know.
You could be right there.
What's up with you? Getting into training for when you're married?
Two places, please, man.
Worldwide anxiety about the superpower confrontation in the Middle East has increased still further this evening. In a statement issued a short time ago by the Pentagon in Washington, the United States has accused the Soviet Union of moving nuclear warheads into their new base at Mashhad in northern Iran. According to the American spokesman, the warhead...
Hey, I'm watching that.
aboard two giant Antonov transport planes late yesterday afternoon and were immediately moved undercover into temporary hangars.
See that? Watching that thing about Far East and it goes and turns its over.
Far East? Wow, what's going on there?
Iran. The Americans have just said Russian.
Iran? That's not the Far East, you pellet. That's the Middle East. China, Hong Kong, that's the Far East.
So what? It's far enough, isn't it?
I'm to Near East myself. Scarborough and Skegness.
Skeggy? I'd rather watch me toenails grow than go there.
Anyway, never mind that rubbish. What about these two birds to east of this table?
NATO's position on the United States action in sending its task force...
That's right, you know, it's getting serious.
Well, there's no we can do about it, is there? Might as well enjoy ourselves whilst we can.
I know, but don't it scare you what it might lead to?
Well, it bloody scares me. There's no we can do about it, is there? Tell you one thing, if the bomb does drop, I want to be pissed out of my mind and straight underneath it when it happens.
From which neither side can back down. Arriving here in Brussels a short time ago, NATO's Secretary-General said he regretted the Soviet action.
Miserable bugger, it's all his family responsibilities. You're acting like a married man already.
Not be long now, yet.
Well, you might as well make the best of it once you can, haven't you? Chatting these two birds up there.
Strengthens the divisions within NATO is something we shall know in a few hours' time when the full Council of Ministers meets in emergency
Last chance you'll get. Anyway, if we are going to cop it, might as well go out with a bang, that's what I say.
Got me many better ways of going, I don't suppose. Blown up on the job.
And we've just heard that the Prime Minister has issued a message of support for the United States government. The statement, just released from Downing Street, condemns what it calls reckless Soviet actions, which can only worsen an already grave situation.
To the Director Technical Services. Please let me know what fuel stocks are currently held in each depot. Please ensure that tanks are kept topped up and that no fuel is used except for essential works only.
There's been no response from the Soviet government as yet to the United States ultimatum delivered to Moscow last night. The American note calls for joint withdrawal of all US and Soviet forces from Iran by noon on Sunday. However, NATO observers in West Germany have reported increasing build-ups of Warsaw-packed troops and vehicles at points along the central frontier this morning. The Ministry of Defense has announced it's sending more troops to Europe to reinforce the British commitment to NATO. The first contingents left RAF Brize Norton this morning. By a number of demonstrations up and down the country, reflecting support for and against the government's decision to reinforce Europe. Although most of these passed off without incident, police made a number of arrests for disorderly conduct at rallies in the North and Midlands.
The government has taken control of British Airways and all cross-channel ferries. They say it's a temporary step to help move troops to Europe. Thousands are stranded at Heathrow and Gatwick. And the Royal Navy is to guard the North Sea oil rigs. The MOD says it's a prudent precautionary measure.
This time, they are playing with, at best, the destruction of life as we know it, and at worst, total annihilation. You cannot win a nuclear war! Now, just suppose the Russians win this war. What exactly would they be winning? What would they have conquered? Well, I'll tell you. All major centres of population and industry will have been destroyed.
Industry? What industry? We ain't got no industry in Sheffield!
Yes, and if the money hadn't been spent on nuclear weapons, he would have built up industry.
Get back to bloody Russia!
We would have put money into welfare. We would have found alternative sources of energy. Industry will have been destroyed. Oil refineries will have been destroyed. All our water would have been polluted. The soil would have been irradiated. Farm stock would be dead, diseased or dying. The Russians would have conquered a corpse of a country.
Let us pray.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Since the expiry of the American ultimatum to the Soviet Union at noon yesterday, there have been intense diplomatic efforts to mediate between the two countries. There is still no information from Iran itself. No news teams have been allowed in or out of the country since phone and telex links were cut on Friday evening. Questioned in the House this morning, the Foreign Secretary said he had no definite news to report and that it would be unhelpful to speculate in the absence of any hard information from the area. Been a run on tinned food, sugar, and other storable items, which is causing shortages in some areas. Spokesman for the main supermarket chains said that panic buying is unnecessary. Fuel shortages are hindering resupply in some areas, but overall there is no shortage of stocks. They urged the public to calm down.
40p? That's scandalous. There were only 26p last week.
You can always shop somewhere else, you know, if you're not satisfied.
Honestly, there's a national emergency going on and all you can think about is lining your pockets.
Look, nobody's forcing you to buy them. Put them back on shelves if you don't want them.
Yes, I will. I'd sooner start first. Excuse me, love.
They started fighting, Mum. Who has? The Americans and the Russians. It's just been on the news. Your dad says you've got to come home now. Come on.
Hey, you haven't paid for them things.
In response to today's news of the outbreak of hostilities between vessels of the United States and Soviet navies, a special session of Parliament has this evening passed an Emergency Powers Act. There'll be a special announcement at the end of this bulletin, and details will be given then of how this affects you. The Prime Minister is expected to address the nation on the international crisis later this evening. A statement issued earlier from Downing Street said the government is optimistic that a peaceful, negotiated settlement to the conflict is at hand. In the meantime, the public is urged to remain calm and to continue normally.
All right, love.
It's noisy.
Must be pubs turning out.
policy of the government is quite clear on the matter. We're urging people to keep calm.
Doing a moonlight flick, then?
No, we're going over to our jacks in Lincolnshire while things get sorted out. I reckon it's be safer over there.
Carol, you stop messing about there and come inside the house and do something to help.
Yeah.
Well, be safe anywhere as far as I can see.
Well, I don't know. We've a better chance of surviving in country, really, haven't we? I mean, where our Jack lives is only a row of houses and a pub. I don't think they're going to bomb that, are they?
Well, I think that's about it, Ron. Carol!
Have you turned that gas off?
I hope so. We don't want the whole street blowing up while you're away.
Come on, Carol.
Spot! I'm coming! Can't find our Spot.
Well, he was here a minute ago, wasn't he? Have you looked inside the house?
Looked upstairs, along the street, next door neighbour's garden, all over.
Ridiculous, all this. Spot!
Spot!
He was here a minute ago.
Come on.
He'll be here in a minute. I know he will be. Spot! Come on!
Come on, look.
Well, where is he?
Come on, look. We're going with our teams here. Come on.
Tell him. Mom! Spot!
You're a right fool. Nothing'll happen.
Come on, we're not standing about here all day waiting for a bloody dog. Get in.
Mr. Crow, we can't leave him.
Carol, get in. Get in.
Thank you, Minister. And we've just had a news flash.
Come on, get in, you
that
bloody
the
thing.
Russians have cut the road links into and out of West Berlin.
See you then, Bill.
Air communications with the city have apparently also been severed. Details are still coming in, but it seems an American Army convoy bound for West Berlin has been turned back at Helmstedt on the East German border. Unconfirmed reports say the Russians have offered a safe passage out of the city to the US, British and French garrisons. It's not clear if this move is connected with yesterday's riots in East Germany. We'll bring you more details on the story as soon as we have them.
Sutton here. Yes, I understand. Do I have to go right away? No? When? Yes, I see.
Local authorities have been given the power to suspend certain peacetime functions and to requisition premises and materials for civil defense purposes. A government spokesman said that this was a precautionary move only. It was not a cause for alarm. Have reported heavy congestion on roads up and down the country, particularly those leading to Wales and the West Country. The police are urging motorists not to travel unless absolutely necessary, and if it is essential, to use only minor roads and leave motorways and intercity trunk routes clear for official traffic. A full list of designated essential service routes is posted outside your local authority headquarters. It includes the M1, M18, A63 and A629.
Trying to get across to relatives in Lincolnshire.
Not this way, you're not. Essential services only this road. You have to find another route, I'm afraid.
Well, that's bloody ridiculous. You can't just stop people like that. Excuse me, where are you going? No, I'm sorry, love, you can't go now. You just can't stop people like
I'll tell you what, try junction 35, 36 the M1. They've opened up the hard shoulder for single-line traffic only. You can imagine what it'd be like, chock-a-block. If I were you, I'd go home and sit tight. That's what they're advising people to do.
There's growing evidence overnight from scientists and observers in many countries that there have been 2 nuclear explosions in the Middle East. There's no official confirmation of what has happened, and the Foreign Office in London...
I've put half a dozen in. Can fetch some more if you like.
No, that'll be plenty. Well, tell him to improvise then.
The Swedish government
Right.
station at Hagfors said yesterday that its instruments...
Clive, you don't think anything's really going down, do you?
No, it's just a precaution, that's all.
You had a shave this morning. Oh, you should never have said you'd do it. You don't have to. You won't get the sack if you refuse.
Look, Marjorie, it's difficult for me as well, you know. I don't want to go and leave you and the children.
Well, then why are you going?
Well, somebody's got to pick up the pieces. Why didn't you say something before if you were worried about it? You never said anything when I went away on those courses. Sutton here.
Unconfirmed reports from Islamabad...
Yes, in half an hour's time.
London this morning suggest...
I should be getting off now if I were you. The roads will be getting busy. Well, use your common sense, man.
According to the report...
Well, how should I know? Marjorie, leave that. I'll ring you later.
Near the country's border with Iran. The
What?
evacuation of the area is also reported.
Yes? Yes.
It is imperative, while there is still time left, that the TUC call a general strike in protest against this disaster which faces us all.
That's what'll destroy this
There is still time to avert disaster if we act resolutely and show both the Russians and the Americans that we will have no trouble with their warmongering. What about the Falklands? Listen, mate, there's nobody more patriotic than I am. I've been trying to get us out of the common market for bloody years. But first...
Please do not play into their hands. This is a peaceful demonstration. We are exercising our right of free speech. The police have no right to stop this demonstration. You have no right to speak. Tin orders! £1.50 a go! Come on, all of you! £1.50, continue!
Morning, Clive. Morning, Alan. What's it like in there?
Oh, it's a bit primitive. Take a look.
Aye, well, we'll get it organised. Where the hell is everybody? There's only half of them here.
You know Steve, the information officer.
Where the hell is everybody?
Jeff just rang in, says his car's broken down.
Oh, that's no good, is it? How many are missing?
About 10.
I'll get on the phone, tell them I want them here immediately. Right. Which is my desk?
It's straight through. Mind your head.
Don't see any sign of the emergency committee, do you?
I know what those bloody councillors are like.
Well, they're not getting paid for this, are they?
Well, this is it. It's the best I can do. Dr. Talbot, Regional Health Authority.
How do you do? How are things going?
We're doing our best.
In the last few days, emergency headquarters like this have been hastily improvised up and down the country, in the basements of town halls and civic centres.
The time has now come to make everything ready for you and your family in case an air attack happens. This does not mean that war is bound to come, but there is a risk of this, and we must all be prepared for it. When you hear the attack warning, you and your family must take cover at once. Do not stay out of doors. If you are caught in the open, lie down.
so that,
If you leave your home, your local authority may take it over for homeless families. And if you move, the authorities in the new place will not help you with food, accommodation, or other essentials. You are better off in your own home. Stay there. Anyone dies while you are kept in your fallout room, move the body to another room in the house. Label the body with name and address, and cover it as tightly as possible in polythene, paper, sheets, or blankets. If, however, you have had a body in the house for more than 5 days, and if it is safe to go outside, then you should bury the body for the time being in a trench or cover it with earth and mark the spot of the burial.
Here are some ideas for making your inner refuge. 1. Make a lean-to with sloping doors or strong boards rested against an inner wall.
You all right, love?
From slipping by fixing a length of wood along the floor. Build further protection of bags or boxes of earth or books.
Can't go back to bed.
On the slope of your
Don't worry about it, love. It'll only last for a week or two.
Partly close the two open ends with boxes of earth or sand or heavy furniture.
I'll to ring work for you and tell them you're not coming in.
Oh, there's anybody there? But only 1 or 2 in yesterday.
Well, somebody before. I can't get anything now. Well, I instead.
I think we ought to be getting the rest of the things out of the cellar now.
The time has now come to make everything ready for you and your family in case an air attack happens. This does not mean that war is bound to come, but there is a risk of that, and we must all be prepared for it. When you hear the attack warning, you and your family must take cover at once. Do not stay out of doors.
Hello, County. This is Sheffield District. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Please report my signal. Over.
Well, whose bloody responsibility is it then? We've all got families. Look, just get down here. There's 9 other people.
Look, I've got a serious public order problem. I need at least an extra 6 PSUs. Yeah, but when? Look, I'm using traffic wardens already.
I don't know how many make it.
All right, then I'll explain.
Many of these officers have had no training at all. Some have learnt of their emergency role only in the last few days, and almost all are unsure of their exact duties.
5,000 gallons a turn.
I want 56 buses.
I suppose I ought to take this one off as well.
Yeah, but it'll get scratched to pieces. It's only just been painted, Bill.
Well, it's better than getting blown to pieces, isn't it?
What's it going to school then, Mum? I'm going to be late. Oh, I don't know. What did it sound telling? I can't remember whether it said schools were closed or not. Oh, they are closed. It said so on the news. We're allowed to stay home. Are you sure? Of course I am. Said they were sending notes out to us.
Oh, no, is it tight?
Great. We had an history test this morning.
And a closed cupboard or cabinet
Go down to Kirby's and see if they've got any food left. Like
A
what?
portable radio and spare battery.
Tin stuff. Bring what you can. And take me purse. Are you going to build one of these in here? Over my dead body is. I want to know something more definite, Bill, before we start ripping this place to pieces. Can I help you? That'd be great.
Strong
I'll be able
disinfectant
to
and
sleep in
toilet
it.
paper.
Be like going camping.
Candles and matches.
The most widespread danger is fallout. Fallout is dust that is sucked up from the ground by the explosion. Fallout can kill.
It's 8:30 a.m., 3:30 in the morning in Washington. Over the past 4 days, neither the president nor his senior staff will have had more than a few hours' rest. This is when they may be asleep. This is when Western response will be slowest.
As we expected, nearly all the supermarket shelves are empty, but we've managed to get the warehouses controlled by the police. As yet, we haven't located all the root vegetable clumps on local farms, but stocks of sugar, wheat, flour and rice are quite good.
Attack warning? Is it for real? Attack warning, it's for bloody real.
Is it?
Right, get to your stations. Come on, get that generator going. Shut the doors.
I want, as soon as you can, every single scrap of information you've got on casualties, but I must have that.
Now get your heads down.
Look, we can't sell you any timber. You'll have to see bosses about it. It's a bloody joinery, not a timber yard.
You can't just have a face like that. Go get a titty sign or something. Come on, quick, get down.
These have gone. Everything's dead. Why didn't you pull the bloody aerial out?
Get the standbys working.
Move that. Come on.
Jesus Christ, they've done it. They've done it. Where are you going?
We'll try and get to the roofs. This is all right. Oh, shit. Come on, Rita. Give us a hand with this now.
No, what about it?
That's all right. No, that's wrong. We gotta get all that stuff off. Come on, straight up. We gotta get the mattress on the bottom. That's right. Roll it. Put it down there. That's it.
No, put this out. Alice, take it.
Build it up.
This one's on spinning layout. I think. Canvas, port string. What was the other one? Hang on, there's something on the airport, I think.
Further down, look. Ruth! Come down here and give us a hand.
Ruth, get hold of that on the torch now.
Ruth, come and help your grandmother.
Ruth, please.
Are you all right? It's probably got a shelter of work. Come on. Hold this stuff on. Then I'll put outside that way. Come on, then. Ruth!
take it easy. Don't move. Don't let anybody get in there. That's the girl. Well done. What up? You want me long now? Put the lights on. Oh, well done, Gordon. How long can you keep that going?
For 2 weeks, if we're careful.
First aid kit, quickly.
Okay.
We've lost county again, I think.
If we can get out.
Aerials must have blown. You're on the roof.
Switch the lights from the corridor when you get there. Can we raise any districts? What about radio ants? Can we improvise an aerial?
Oh, well, we'll try.
We've got to do something quick.
Some white in the school.
Where the hell's the first aid kit?
It's on this shelf at the back.
It's all blocked out here. I can't shift the thing.
How is it?
I can't find this first aid kit.
Forget the first aid kit. Bring me something to cover him up with.
Everybody all right? Mother?
Done another one.
Can't go on forever.
It's Stocksbridge Police. What about rescue?
Any idea on casualties?
Is there anything you can do? Over.
Give me another bin liner.
What is your radiac reading?
What about the depot there?
I repeat, what is your radiac reading? Over. 100. It's too high. You've got to get your men under cover.
Can you get us
Can you get us through to the county central headquarters? Over. Can you patch us through? Over. Stocksbridge, are you receiving me? Over.
I agree, I think.
Have you heard anything from them?
Look, never mind about that. Ask him about casualties.
They've lost them.
What about Hillsborough and Stocksbridge?
Nothing from Hillsborough, but Stocksbridge not too bad. Windows blown in and structural damage, but not too bad.
In that far out?
Ask him where that
Jesus
last one was.
Christ.
Ask him where that last one was.
Switch that thing off, will you, Gordon?
The first fallout dust settles on Sheffield. It's an hour and 25 minutes after the attack. An explosion on the ground at Crewe has sucked up this debris and made it radioactive. The wind has blown it here. This level of attack has broken most of the windows in Britain. Many roofs are open to the sky. Some of the lethal dust gets in. In these early stages, the symptoms of radiation sickness and the symptoms of panic are identical.
Are you all right, Ruth? Ruth?
Couldn't help it. It just came on.
Oh,
don't worry about it, love. It's not your fault. We've all got it. I know, but I'm so ashamed. Yes, I know that. It's just the shock. Messing the bed
It's
at
the
my
shock,
age.
isn't it, Gordon?
It's like being a little baby again.
Lie down. Ruth, come and help me clean Grandma.
Ruth, be careful with that, love. You don't know how long it's going to have to last us.
Come on, Ruth, don't just sit there. Do something. Go on.
Oh! Ooh. Oh.
Oh, yeah, Michael. Michael, I gotta find him. Phil.
You stop here and...
I gotta find him.
I'll go look for him.
Come.
No, you stop here,
No,
love.
Phil.
I'll only be out a few minutes. All right, stop here, love.
No,
Please, I'll
no,
go
I've
look
got
for
to
him.
come. No.
Oh, come on.
Help me, Phil.
Right. Oh, my God. Michael! Michael!
Haven't heard from County HQ for 2 days. Well, who the hell else have you tried? Well, send another motorcycle.
There are no roads left!
All the people here will be dead already. It's completely flattened. Round here, 50% will still be alive, but here, they're as good as dead already. They've probably received a lethal dose.
What about here?
Oh, it'd be pretty heavy there. If the wind's still blowing up from the west-southwest, it's in direct line from Crewe. Oh, 800 rads, 1,000, difficult to say. Depends what sort of cover they've got, of course. If they've got a decent cellar with
It's on the radio.
Oh, right.
There's no way of getting anything out according to the list.
Yeah. Yes, I'll pass the message on.
I expected to do.
About
You've got
road and Greenwich.
Some list of vehicles.
Listen,
I need two wagons.
Hey,
That's all.
I've got a message from Riverland Valley Police. They've managed to get through to Beat Chief Works Depot. They've got some vehicles on the road, but they're nearly out of fuel.
Well, what the bloody hell have they been doing with it all?
They didn't tell me. They just said they want to know whether they can get some more. And they've got no food.
Oh, God.
Any chance of getting through to County?
Look, I've got very...
Just let me get on with it, okay?
Here you are, Mother. Something to eat for you. Better leave her, the rest will do her good.
Well, at least it won't go cold. Ruth. Ruth, love. Come on, love. You'll have to eat something. But you'll have to, love. It's not just you now, you know. The baby needs some food as well. Come on.
I don't care about this baby anymore.
Oh, Ruth.
I wish it was dead.
Don't say things like that.
There's no point. There's no point with Jimmy dead.
But you don't know.
He is. I know he is.
Don't be sad.
Oh, we're breathing in all this radiation. All the time, my baby.
Oh, what do you mean?
I've made it.
Alison and Jimmy, all of them gone. Alison, I didn't know that, Michael. All dead.
Oh, no, we don't know that. They might be safe somewhere.
Oh, I wish I were dead. Shit with me.
I wish I could swap places with him.
Right, Gary, let's kill him. Watch that bloody water. How far does this go back? If bloody 4 floors have come down on this, it could go back for yards and yards.
Try it again, Gordon. Still nothing coming through. It must be blocked further up.
How much stuff do you think's on top of us?
Most of town hall, I should think.
Well, when will you be able to get to us?
Can't get lifting gear.
What about the army? What about military?
We've not heard from County as
If we
yet.
don't release some food soon, we'll never get things under control.
Well, you try getting through to them. It's bloody awful.
I've got starving mobs in Shallow, Ecclesfield, Bromfield...
Look, it's not
Marrow
our
Bay.
decision anyway. It's up to Zone to authorise the release of buffer stocks, and then it becomes a county
We
decision.
can't get through to
What are we going
county.
to do? Let them starve?
Look, even if we did have the authority...
Well, we're on our own. You've got the authority. But bloody time you did something with it.
Look, what's the point of wasting food on people who are going to die anyway?
I agree with Clive. The food stocks are not going to last long. A lot of people just didn't stock up.
How could they? The bloody shops were empty.
And now they're coming out of the shelters. I know it sounds callous, but I think we should hang on to the little food we've got.
And I need that food to force people to work.
Go and make us a cup of tea, Sharon.
Go make me yourself. I'm not your bloody wife, you know.
And you've better got a ferry.
That's for your health, you know.
Look, I don't care how much trouble they're causing. We're not sending our men in there with radiation as high as that. Look, I know that. But what's the point? They're all going to die on that patch anyway.
Bill, just get me a drink. Please, a drink.
I'll see if I can find it. I won't be long.
Just a minute. That's it. Oh, God. Oh, look at you.
Just a minute, just a minute. Just a minute.
Can you manage that?
All right, put it down in a minute. Put it down again. Give us one of the blankets. Come on. Oh, my God.
Ruth!
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 Come on, down you go. Careful.
What time is it?
2:30.
Night or day?
Night, I think. I'm not sure. I'm losing track. I'm not sure whether it's night or day anymore.
Hanging in the atmosphere, the clouds of debris shut out the sun's heat and light. Across large areas of the northern hemisphere, it starts to get dark. It starts to get cold. In the centers of large land masses like America or Russia, the temperature drop may be severe, as much as 25 degrees centigrade. Even in Britain, within days of the attack, it could fall to freezing or below for long, dark periods.
will be met by force. So I invite you to disperse and go back to your homes.
Prepare to fire gas.
One round CS gas, face of gate. One round of that gun. Further round of CS,
The entire peacetime resources of the British Health Service, even if they survived, would be unable to cope with the effects of even the single bomb that's hit Sheffield. By this time, without drugs, water or bandages, without electricity or medical support facilities, there is virtually no way a doctor can exercise his skill. As a source of help or comfort, he's little better equipped than the nearest survivor.
We've no choice, as far as I can see.
Can't we get any food from outside?
Where from? We've told County and everybody's in the same boat, aren't they?
What about the broiler?
Trouble is, we can't contact Rockley or Ayersbrook. God knows what's happened there.
Probably been raided.
What do you think, Doctor?
We'll have to cut their rations. I've worked it out there. 1,000 calories for manual workers and 500 for the rest.
500? 500? That wouldn't keep a flea alive.
Should we be bothering to keep anybody alive if they can't work?
A lot of people are going to die anyway. It's back to survival of the fittest, I suppose.
What is that in terms of food, then? 500 calories?
I don't know. A few slices of bread, some soup, a lamb chop, a treacle tart, a few pints of beer. Bastards!
Look, you must have an empty factory somewhere to put
No, you look!
I've got thousands of homeless bloody people up there walking around, and I've got enough on with them without being worried about bloody criminals.
Well, you're going to have to find somewhere to put them, aren't you?
Well, I don't know. Look, shoot the buggers, I don't care.
Can't we get the water tank to brew it?
Oh, Christ, Steve. This should have been sorted out days ago here.
Well, what about the rest centres? Can we not tell them to make their way there?
No, there'd be no point. Look, they'd be overrun anyway.
Certainly not.
What about tents?
I don't care.
Any tents we could use?
What? Tents? How the hell should I know? Look, if you want to know about tents, go and phone the bloody Boy Scouts.
Oh, piss off, will you? You're not the only one under pressure.
I bloody know.
You sort it.
2 weeks.
And what the hell are you doing about digging us out? That's what I'd like to know.
What a stink. Let's get out of here. Oh, puke.
Halt! All right, fire! Number 3, around for that man over there.
Number 1, go in and search the house.
Up against the wall.
Do you know the penalty for looting?
That ain't looting.
Quiet.
Searching empty houses.
Shut up.
What choice have we got?
We were hungry.
What else can we do, eh? We're starving.
2 bodies in the cellar, sir. Man and a woman. Not been dead long. Man's had his head battered in.
You were like that one.
What's it with him? We ain't done nothing.
Number 2, pick up the stolen goods.
Haven't done anything. We're only after a bit of food.
Check the house and search the body.
Bag of crisps. Flavour are they?
Rolled doctor.
They fucking would be. I hate them. Come on.
All able-bodied citizens, men, women and children should report for reconstruction duties commencing 0800 hours tomorrow morning. The inhabitants of Release Band F, that is Door and Totley, Abbeydale and Woodseats, should rendezvous in Abbeydale Park. Release Band B, that is Netherend...
Money has had no meaning since the attack. The only viable currency is food, given as reward for work or withheld as punishment. In the grim economics of the aftermath, there are 2 harsh realities. A survivor who can work gets more food than one who can't, and the more who die, the more food is left for the rest.
I could murder a fag now. I used to love a fag after a meal.
You got all to swap.
I've got some scotch.
Detention camps are improvised to cope with looters. Their numbers are growing.
Watch yourselves here, lads. Right. Turn that light down there, quick. Down there. What's the girl? Come on, come on there. Okay. Yep. Come here. One over there. Another one over there. How many altogether? 4, 5, 6.
A growing exodus from cities in search of food. It's July. The countryside is cold and full of unknown radiation hazards. By now, 5 to 6 weeks after the attack, deaths from the effects of fallout are approaching their peak.
Right down there. Come on. George Langley.
Yes, what do you want?
You've been designated for temporary residence.
I'm having no strangers coming to live here.
Look, you've no choice in the matter. It's law under the new emergency regulations.
I don't care what it is. This is my house and I'm having no strangers in it.
Look, according to my records, you've got 4 spare rooms. Kitchen, bathroom...
Stop and spare and all. They can't just come here and walk into people's houses. It's not right.
Look, we're not here to argue the rights and wrongs of the matter,
Besides,
right? You 4.
It's
1,
bloody
2,
dangerous. They might bring all sorts of diseases with them.
Come on, in you go.
They might be contaminated.
In you go.
Well, look at him. Look at him.
That's enough.
Oi, look at him.
Go on.
Go on,
in you
go.
go. Right, number 19.
Get out, will you? The whole lot of you. Gone!
No, right, just a minute.
Go on. Get out, the whole lot of you.
Yeah, where are we supposed to go?
Ruth. It is Ruth, isn't it? And Bob. Jimmy's mate. We met once or twice, remember? Came to our last Christmas do at work. Where is he? Is he with you? Have you seen him?
Is it safe to eat?
I don't know. How can you tell? It's got a thick coat. That should have protected it.
You breathe it in though, don't you?
It should be all right.
Sheep don't die of cold. It must be radiation.
You'd be able to taste it if it were contaminated.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, we've no choice, have we? Unless we want to starve to death. I'll take some with me.
Where?
City.
There's nothing there.
North. Dales. Doesn't really matter, does it? It's all the same. Try and skin it. Keep me warm.
survive these difficult early months and establish firm base for the redevelopment of our country, then we must concentrate all our energies on agricultural production.
Collecting this diminished first harvest is now literally a matter of life and death. chronic fuel shortages mean that this could be one of the last times tractors and combine harvesters are used in Britain. The first winter. The stresses of hypothermia, epidemic and radiation fall heavily on the very young and the old. Their protective layers of flesh are thinner. In the first few winters, many of the young and old disappear from Britain.
Ruth. Ruth. Work. 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 Up.
And pictures. Skeletons and skulls of different creatures. We borrowed them from the museum. Did you recognize what some of those skeletons were? There was the skeleton of a cat. A cat's skeleton. The skeleton of a chicken. A chicken's skeleton. The skeleton of a bird. A bird's skeleton.
Seaton and Coney. Gizzard! Gizzard! Bah, Eltozel Brian!
Let's stand off us again.
Gizzard! Warren's Dopper! Come on, us?
Where?
Come on. Us place. Gazzle Spike. Sharon Coney, eh? Come on. Come on, Sharon Coney. Gizzard! Come on, Gizzard! Us place, come on. Come on.
Come back here with that! Hey, no! Come back! Come back!
time for babbies here.
Coming, Babby, I'm
No
coming.
time for babbies here. You'll have to go home. Use your common sense.
Coming! They're coming!